Ayo, it's October, and you know what that means. Big corporate companies are going to be putting out the same old boring garbage that we always see every year. And it'll be the same stories with the same jump scares, and all the usual suspects will appear. Dumb characters that you've always seen, but they'll be given new names, and the big spooky villain's going to be given a new skin and a new lore, but it'll all functionally come down to the same thing, and that's mediocrity. And if you want to watch something good, you go, it's always like the same movies on rotation. The Shining, The Thing, Alien, you've all seen them a million bajillion times, and there's nothing wrong with them. They're all basically masterpieces in their own right, but I want to help you get something new. I want to help you boost your clout with the goth gang. And to do that, you gotta dive a little deeper. I've selected 7 movies that I think deserve way more credit than they actually do, and nobody ever talks about them, and it makes me angry. The first one is a South Korean movie called Thirst, and I want to talk about it first. And that's because it's directed by Chan-wook Park. If you don't know who he is, you probably don't know much about Korean cinema in the first place, but maybe you're looking for to branch out a little bit after watching Parasite by Bong Joon-ho, and you're like, who else? Who else in Korea is making them slapping bangers? Well, I tell you what, Thirst quenched my thirst for just that. Now, it's basically a vampire movie about romance, where, the guy is a vampire and the girl isn't. So if you've ever been like, man, Twilight, great idea, awful execution, I have the perfect movie for you, because this movie slaps. And I have pretty high standards when it comes to cinematography and writing, but this movie excels in every single situation. The only thing is that some of the effects do look kind of dated, but this is a pretty indie director making a movie without Hollywood money in South Korea. And for South Korea at the time, it was pretty great. Even one of Bong Joon-ho's other movies, like The Host, I think has worse effects at times, and sometimes it has better effects, but it doesn't really draw back from the story or anything. Thirst is great. It's a great movie. I'd give it like an 8 out of 10. You should watch it right now. I think it might be a little long, but the ending, it just makes up for everything so well. It's a really great ending that left me flabbergasted. The second movie is Phenomena. I guess we're going in ascending order of chances of me recommending it to a normie who's not really into horror movies, because Phenomena is another movie by the director of the 1970s movie Suspiria, good old Dario Argento, and I think this is a much better movie to introduce you to him than Suspiria ever could be. And that's a hugely controversial claim to make, I know, but Suspiria has so many technical issues, and it's just super 100% dream logic a lot of the time. And unless you're prepared for that Italian giallo cheese of like poorly dubbed audio and wacky hijinks, you're probably not gonna immediately vibe with Suspiria. You're probably better off watching the remake and never the original, to be honest. But if you watch Phenomena, you'll start to get introduced to it, and then you can work your way backwards to the OGs. You know what I'm saying? Because Phenomena, thank God, is mostly either it's dubbed way better, or it's not even dubbed at all. I couldn't tell you. I even went back and like scrubbed through the footage to see before I made that claim. I'm pretty sure it's not dubbed, which is huge because it's terrible in Suspiria. Phenomena is less colorful as well, but it kind of has like a detective thriller plot going on, where a body was found and it had some bugs in it, so they went to an entomologist, a bug scientist man, to analyze the bugs and see if they could figure out, clues and all that. And the scientist guy's got a monkey, and he's weird. I love him, and his interactions with the main character are some of my favorite parts of the movie. But really, I just love the way the whole thing is laid out and paced, and it really feels it's a very 80s movie. It was made in 1985 as opposed to Suspiria, which was made in the 70s. So it's got like this poppin' synthesized soundtrack that's a little more new wave than Suspiria was. And it also has just flat out some of the best cinematography I've ever seen in a horror movie. It is better than Suspiria, and I'll fight you to the grave on that. Tooth and nail, come at me if you disagree about that. I love the way this movie looks, and I'm a freak, and I love bugs as well. I was tempted to study entomology in college, but that didn't pan out. Yeah, great movie. It takes place in Switzerland. Did I mention there's a monkey? And he's a great monkey. Fantastic monkey. Top 10 movie monkeys. That's my next video. The third movie is Society, because we all live in one. And this is one that, the first one on the list that I'd be like, hey, if you don't like gross things, avoid this one. You can just go ahead and skip forward in the video if you don't like body horror and stuff like that, because if The Fly is too much for you, this movie is it's the gooeyest, gloopiest movie I've ever seen. This is also another super 80s movie. Like, the main character and most of the cast could all be in Back to the Future, and you would be like, yeah, you wouldn't even bat an eye. There's fantastic mullets, excellent perms, ridiculous objectification of women. What more could you ask for? Probably the objectification of other people into slime beings and a hilarious parody of 1980s coke binges and rampant capitalism. Society is the best thing to come out of the Reagan era. Of course. I could also describe it as the moment that a privileged, white, rich kid notices the same things that all the degenerate punks noticed at the same time and before in the 70s. Yeah. Good stuff. Watch it. Good movie. Watch. Yes. Next movie is Demons. If you liked Phenomena, you'll like Demons. It's about demons, and they're in a movie theater, and everyone's freaking out, and there's murder and death and a motorcycle at some point in the movie theater riding on the chairs, and I don't really have anything else to say about that. It's also hilarious. It's like if you took Phenomena and Society and smushed them together. Fantastic. It's got the ethereal, amazing visuals of Phenomena, but it's also got the wacky, hilarious hijinks and comedy of Society, so that's why I'm saying that. It's another Italian movie. I guess it's Giallo adjacent. I don't know if it's full-on Giallo, but Dario Argento helped write the screenplay, so you know it's gonna be wacky. You know it's gonna be like your rear high while watching it, whether you actually are or not. And I'm not gonna say to not be high if you choose to watch it. If you're gonna watch one of the movies with like a big group of people and you want to yell a lot and barely pay attention, Demons is the one to pick. I would say Society is a close second on that account though. Or you just watch by yourself. I feel like if you watch theirs with other people, it might feel kind of awkward at some points. Alright, next is Shadow of the Vampire. Not to be confused with Shadow the Hedgehog, which is not a horror movie. Shadow of the Vampire is like a pseudo-documentary, a mockumentary, if you will, of what it was like to film and make the 1920s expressionist movie Nosferatu. And if you don't know who Nosferatu is, he's the guy who was flickering the lights in SpongeBob during the hash-slinging slasher episode. But also it's sad if you don't know Nosferatu, and you should go watch it on YouTube. Maybe even on ×2 speed, or just scroll through it and get the idea of what it's about, which is kind of a prerequisite for watching the movie. Max Schreck was so good performing as Nosferatu that there was like some theories at the time that like, oh, he's got a real vampire. And so this Shadow of the Vampire takes that completely seriously and is like, what if actually, yeah, Max Schreck was a vampire? And so the Mad Lads, the geniuses, casted Willem Dafoe as Max Schreck's character in the film. And it is a legendary performance. No one else could have been this character. Don't even try to pretend. And then what they also did is they cast John Malkovich as like the director crazy character. And John Malkovich is a treasure when he's playing a complete wacko, weirdo, insane, eccentric director guy, and it's fantastic. From the premise you might think it's a comedy, and I laughed a lot of times, but but it presents itself rather seriously, and I'm not sure if it's supposed to be necessarily funny all the time. IMDb calls it a drama/horror, so take that for what you will. What do they know? I think lots of movies that they've categorized as a certain genre are wrong, but what do I know? I don't think the director ever did anything else of note. It's a really great lightning in a bottle kind of thing. Really out there premise, really fantastic execution. That's all I have to say about that. Alright, second to last movie. I'm going with Exorcist III. I know you're thinking, what? What the heck? Because The Exorcist is one of the most well-known horror movies and well-regarded and respected horror movies of all time. It's unquestionable how influential and important the movie is. William Friedkin basically gave us his magnum opus on that movie. But then The Exorcist 2 happens, and never watched that movie. You don't have to watch it for 3, and it should be erased from the planet. It's not even worth it. But 3 was written by William Peter Blatty, who wrote the original novel that The Exorcist was based on. And so he returned to this movie not only for the screenplay, but also to direct. And yes, you love it. Even better than Friedkin. Even better than The Exorcist 1. Come at me. I'm just full of hot takes today. I'm full of unpopular opinions, and I'm here to be challenged. This movie is so much more of like a human character study drama than the first one ever was. I mean, the first one has some of those elements because it was the same writer, but 3 really focuses on this one specific character who's a police lieutenant investigating a murder that may be connected to something in the past that really shook him up and like challenged his faith. And so now he's just like filled with resentment and feelings for everything. The movie is filled with fantastic performances. There's not a weak role, and there's lots of like really challenging moments in the film that like make you think. Actually, unlike a lot of other horror movies, you're in there cerebrally, and metaphysically. You're exploring yourself through the film. The dialogue is just, it's perfection. Oh, the writing, man. He's so good, William Peter Blatty, and he had full control of this movie to pump his vision out exactly how he wanted to, and this is auteur cinema, okay? And you wouldn't think that because it's The Exorcist freaking 3, the follow-up to 2, which is schlock Hollywood produced, certifiable cash grabby garbage, and then 3 is like auteur cinema with like a proper vision. And it's fantastic, so that's all I have to say about that. Last movie. This one's my most reserved pick. Like, I don't even know if I should mention this one, but I've never heard anyone talk about this one. And I at least heard, like, about the other ones from somebody, somewhere. But this one I discovered just because I'm a nerd. And I watched Return of the Living Dead 1, and I really loved it. And I wanted to watch more like it. And I saw that the third movie was directed by Brian Usna, who directed Society. So we're tying it all together. We have some big brain connections going on in this list. I didn't just throw it together. So Return of the Living Dead 3, huh? Another 3. Another third movie that was thrown out there for the cash grab. 3 is supposed to be like the one where the movie series dies, right? But Return of the Living Dead 3 is the second of exception on this exact list. I don't know if there's any other ones. Please let me know, especially in horror, which is such a oversaturated genre of recycled garbage. But look at this poster, man. Like, no wonder I checked it out. I'm surprised that she's not on TikTok now, you know what I'm saying? So, like the first movie, it's kind of like another like horror love story. So if you're into that, this is like one of the better ones that exist. And I absolutely do recommend it after you've seen the essentials. But it's set in the Return of the Living Dead universe continuity, even though it's full of retcons. It's set in that, so the government's got barrels of ooze that when you open it, it turns you into an undead zombie for like some reason. And the main character is the son of one of those government heads. And it's a very like 90s rebellious punk rock grunge movie. If you couldn't tell by just the poster alone, with like the jacket and stockings, denim shorts. This is one of the most 90s movies I've ever seen. This movie is as 90s as Society is 80s. And this was 1993 too, so like Nirvana was topping the charts. This is like peak 90s before it was started becoming a little 2000-y as it sort of started to transition into one of the worst decades of our existence, the early 2000s. This is the cool part of the 90s, the grunge aesthetic. It's like, oh man, authority, man. God. Nobody likes that. We're challenging that. So the guy's girlfriend gets infected by the zombie thing, and so they're trying to run away from the government because they're trying to track them down to kill her because she could spread it, and that'd be terrible. And because the government's corrupt and they don't want people to know that they are inadequate in most things. So it's understandable that they want to kill her, but he doesn't want her to kill her because he's in love, man. Society's gonna bring him down, but he wants to be an artist. I love it. It's really campy and cheesy, and it also has one of my favorite homeless wise man characters who knows the ins and outs of street knowledge, and he's gonna help the main character because he's so wise and cool. It's really good fun. It's another movie to watch with your friends to end it on. Another fun movie. It does pack an emotional punch to it, because it's not just all balls to the wall like Demons is or Society. But I'd still say I recommend it. It's the least strong movie on this list though, so keep that in mind. I think in general, with horror movies, I have a different taste and approach to how I evaluate and enjoy them for other movies. Because I'm here to have fun, I'm here to see cool visuals, I'm here to see tropes carried out to a ridiculous extreme or completely subverted for something totally bonkers and out there. That's what I go into them for. So if that's what you also go into them for, you'll identify and like the movies on this list as much as I did. None of them scare me. I think I've seen 2 horror movies in my life that have actually scared me, and maybe I'll talk about those in another video. That's a good topic. But for now, I'm about to hit the road, you know what I'm saying? I'm a busy man. Got lots of busy plans to execute, my grand takeover of YouTube. I'm coming for you, PewDiePie. I'm coming for your 100 million subs. Right after Cocomelon. 2019, PewDiePie versus T-Series. 2020, PewDiePie versus Cocomelon. 2021, PewDiePie versus me. Sarcastic Cat. Oof. And 2024, coming for the presidency.